Hi, this is Jim Schmitz with Ringers Wrestling. We're meeting with one of our mindset specialists. Well, she is our mindset specialist. She's worked for us for years. Karen Bird, she runs Win with Hypnosis. She's, meets with us once a year. She does some groups with us. She meets with a number of our wrestlers as individuals or with their families to work with them on their mental training. And mindset training is a huge part of wrestling. Being a one-on-one sport, it's very hard. And so, Karen, it's great to have you with us so you could talk to our wrestlers. As you know, when we're cutting this, we're all homebound because of the coronavirus. But it's a great time to work our minds since we can't get in the wrestling room. In my wrestling room at United Fitness Center, I have a 2x3 Post-it note that just states, "You are a great wrestler." I did that after one of your meetings. You came and talked to our kids on the mat before practice. I think maybe it was at the end of practice. Tell me about the power of that simple statement and why wrestlers need to tell themselves that on a regular basis. I am a great wrestler.
Yeah, you're right. And I wanted to address first, again, Karen Bird. Hi, nice to meet you all. Wanted to address first that keeping your mind in shape is just as important as keeping your body in shape, right? I saw on Good Morning America last week, Simone Biles was on. And she was talking about how important it was because she was training at home. She was doing handstands and lifting weights. She couldn't go into the gym, about keeping her mind in shape and how important it is. And it really is important because we all know that there's things we can't control, right? We can't control that we can't go to the gym. We can't control the coronavirus. We can't control what's happening in our world right now. But what we can control is what's going on in our heads. And what's going on in our heads creates our reality. Our minds can only have one thought at a time. We can believe we're a great wrestler. I am a great wrestler. Or we can believe that I'm not as good as and I'll never be as good as. It truly becomes your truth and your reality. But what we found with mindset dominance is that what we say in our head is what becomes our belief. And when we say we're a great wrestler, we're going to do everything to get there. Our body is going to respond to our mind. And we all know that the best athletes, the champion athletes, say it many, many, many times. The Olympians, they don't question if they're great or not. They don't question, am I a great swimmer? Am I a great athlete? They know they're great. The advantage that they have is that they put in the time. They had someone telling them how great they were for many years. They have newspapers and news channels interviewing them, telling them how great they are, right? So it becomes part of their self-talk. So now they get to stand in the reality of how great they are, and it only makes them greater. But if we're not at the level of an Olympian, if we want to be great, we have to say it, right? And so, Jim, you know this, the more you say it, the more it becomes your reality, the more your mind believes it. It's actually, we have pathways, neural pathways in our brain. And when someone tells us something like, you're a great wrestler or you're a great athlete, it creates a pathway. And then as we hear it more, it becomes a road and a highway and a super highway. And all of a sudden we believe we're a great wrestler because we've been told that so many times, and that's our self-talk. Now, the challenge is that if you don't hear it from others, if your parent doesn't tell you that all the time, if you don't hear how great you are, your key is to be your own mental coach and say it yourself. So you have control over it. You have control of what goes on in your head. And part of that is reading or saying, I'm a great wrestler, I'm a great athlete, I'm amazing at takedowns, whatever it is, many times a day. So that then becomes the road and the highway and the super highway, instead of, I'll never be as good as, I'm just started. He's bigger than me. I can't do that. I'll never be a state champion. So we get to choose, but when we have it written there, when it's the statement and we say it, it becomes the super highway. So
interesting. And also keeping it in the simplest form, the present tense and positive. And I noticed, so sarcasm doesn't work?
No, unfortunately not. And that's a really good point, because what happens is our subconscious creates pictures in everything that we do. So if you say I'm a great wrestler, you're actually creating a picture in your mind of a great wrestler, whether it's you or someone else. But sarcasm is the opposite of, right? And actually the definition of sarcasm is the ripping and tearing of flesh. And the crazy thing is that becomes a picture in our mind. So sarcasm is the opposite of the positive present tense self-talk.
I suppose the double negative doesn't work because you have to take the time to filter out what the real meaning is as well.
Exactly.
Don't do that thing I don't want you to do.
Right. And the good example of that is if I tell you, Jim, not to imagine a pink elephant, don't see a pink elephant in your head. What did you just see?
It's pink. And it's
a pink.
It's
pink
a cartoon elephant. But,
because and our subconscious mind creates pictures, and everything we say or someone else says. And so you saw that pink elephant, but I told you not to think of a pink elephant. So if I were to tell you not to keep your head down when you wrestle, you hear, keep my head down, right? Mm-hmm. So it's always positive present tense. That's what the subconscious hears and creates a picture from. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know from working with you, one of your pillars of your process is effective goal setting. And that's something we've preached since 1987. What age should kids begin that? We have kids from 5 years old to 18 years old, and we still are in touch with our wrestlers in college. But what's a good age to begin effective goal setting?
I would say right away, 5 years old. And the reason is because when we set goals, we reach goals. It's the universal law. When we set goals, we reach goals. The reason is we, in my field, call that manifesting. When we manifest something, we do anything to make it happen. So when we set a goal, like I win regionals, as simple as I win regionals, or I win my next match, or I win 5 matches this year. It doesn't have to be a state champion. Whatever your goal is, what happens is we manifest it, we set it, and then when our mind accepts it and reads it and hears it enough, we do everything to get closer and closer and closer until we make that a reality. But if we don't set goals, there's nothing to head toward. And so we just stay stuck. We truly stay stuck when we don't set a goal. So setting goals is very important. An example is that I see a lot of swimmers. And swimmers will set goal times. And fractions of a second make a difference when it comes to swimming. And they will swim, and they don't know what they're swimming as they're swimming, what their time is. They just feel how fast they're going. Mm-hmm. And I will get emails repeatedly, again and again, about, I got the exact goal time I set. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
It's how powerful your mind is. I don't know how it happens. I just know it happens. And if you want to reach a certain goal, you have to write it down. You have to see it, say it, and believe it.
So wanting to win isn't enough, and just working hard isn't enough to make it happen.
Right. And here's the thing is mental training is important. You're not going to be a good athlete or physical training if you don't physically train. But when it gets to the higher levels, when it gets to true performance, 90% is what's going on in your mind. So when you step on that mat, when you jump in that pool, when you get on that court, you've 90% won or lost based on what's going on in your mind. And physical training, absolutely, you can't do it without it, but mental training is just as, if not more important. So like I tell the athletes, is you spend hundreds, thousands of hours training to be a good wrestler. If you could get this mental piece, your whole world is going to change. And it's not even as hard as the physical training, but it's just as important. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got your book on my shelf. See it every day. You talk about relaxation. You want to see? You've got the other version. I was trying to remember if I read your book on my trip I think it was on my trip to New Jersey for the Wildwood Duels one year I read it. But you talk about relaxation in your mindset training. Wrestling's an intense sport. And a lot of wrestlers like to get psyched up for a match, maybe not so much for practice. What's the point of relaxation in such a tough sport? Don't we just need to get tougher?
That's a great question. Relaxation. So we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. I know it's only one brain, but we actually have 2 minds. We have a conscious critical mind that we use 95% of the time. It's always awake. It thinks, it analyzes, it critiques. It has a tendency to play negative. The last time that you didn't do so well, the last time you didn't win. That's just how the human mind wants to work. And when we can take that critical conscious mind, that negative mind, the one that overthinks, and relax it, we can work with the subconscious. Now, our subconscious has all of our memories, our habits, our beliefs, and all of the pictures in the blueprint. So when I ask you something like, what did you do last night? you will think about it for a moment, and you actually saw yourself where you were last night, correct? And that's our subconscious mind. Is that works in pictures? That's our blueprint. If we see ourselves winning a match, we're likely going to win that match. And when you get in a relaxed state, that conscious mind, like, I'm not sure I can win. I'm not as good as, oh my gosh, I'm wrestling the state champion. When that one's not questioning, you can create a blueprint and see yourself wrestling the prior state champion and winning. And that becomes your blueprint. And then that's what happens. But the relaxation is important so that we can kind of bypass that overthinker and get to the subconscious mind where all those blueprints are created and held.
That makes sense. So is that where you bring in self-talk? Is self-talk part of visualization, being aware of negative thoughts and you work a lot on self-talk, negative thoughts, adverse situations like a referee making a bad call. How can sports, if we know how to do that stuff just in our mind, why do we need to do sports hypnosis for it? How does that take us to a different point?
The sports hypnosis point is a lot of mental training. So similar to what we're talking about, exactly, the self-talk, how to change up your thoughts. Your body always reacts to your mind, so paying attention to your thoughts are very important. That's creating that muscle memory in the way that you perform. But sports hypnosis is that extra piece where you get the mental training, and then the hypnotic piece is the piece where you learn how to relax that conscious mind and create new blueprints of what does your perfect match look like. And a lot of times if I were to ask an athlete that comes into my office, what does your perfect match or perfect game look like? They really have to think about it. But under hypnosis, there's no thinking. That thinking cap is relaxed and you get to create what you want to create. And when you create it, it becomes reality. So that's where that hypnotic piece, and then you listen to recordings at night, which reinforces it and creates that superhighway that we talked about. And all of a sudden you don't realize that's just the way that you are wrestling or performing, because now that's your truth, as opposed to that second guessing. And it is practice. You know, I tell everyone, it's just like physical practice. Your mind is just like your physical body. The more you work it, the more you strengthen it, the stronger it becomes. So you get to choose whether you want to get lazy and not practice, just like physically, or you want to lift weights and get stronger. And it's the same thing with your mental mind. You get to choose what you want to do with it and if you want to strengthen it or not. But you do have to work at it.
And I noticed you spend a lot of time with your training, but you're able to refine, get people into that relaxed state where they're not thinking with just a simple go-to word, correct?
Yes. So we call that a power word in the training that I do. And there's a word that the athlete will choose that is a trigger word. And that trigger word is linked to what does the perfect match look like? And when that trigger word is said, that perfect match comes back. Just like if I were to say, I could bring up something like puppy dog. When I say puppy dog, you get a certain feeling. And it's probably a good feeling because we all love puppy dogs. And it's the same thing with hypnosis, is we'll bring up a power word, whether it's amazing, unstoppable, incredible, powerful. That word is linked to that peak performance state, that being in the zone, that state that when you really wrestled awesome, the last time that you wrestled awesome, it felt good, right? You felt on top of the world. We can take a word that actually describes that feeling, and every time you say that word, because we're anchoring it under hypnosis, when the critical mind is relaxed, it then brings back that peak emotional state.
Excellent. And there's so many things I'd love to talk about with you about this, but maybe we should like jump back into wrestling some, because I know I talked to you about situations where I've heard from kids feelings they felt in matches or things that they had to deal with. You hear a lot about this probably with people that you work with or people that are just talking about mindset training. Can you share just a couple of examples like that and how you would help assist them? Sure. I think we talked too about a kid that said that upon shaking hands to start a match, he knew he was going to lose the match. Now, my belief is that's probably not an uncommon thought that can creep into your head. But if you've never trained your mind, you don't know what to do with that thought.
Exactly. And that is one of the keys. And it is so simple, but we don't know it. That's that thought stopping, right? And so what happens is that kid believed at one point that when he shook the hand, he was going to lose. Now, that came from somewhere, whether it was his own thought, something he said to himself, or something someone said to him at some point in his life that then became his reality. And with mental training, we can figure all that out. We can find out where are those points or those places where you start to not believe in yourself. What happens when you don't get the first takedown? Do you lose composure and set a reset? And when you have a reset, whether it's touching the mat or a word or even a deep breath, I've even had wrestlers that have, like they pull on their singlet. That will reset them and bring them back to that place of being in the zone, that place of confidence. Because we all know that the best athletes are the most confident, right? And what happens is when the self-doubt creeps in, just like when I shake your hand and I'm questioning myself, that's self-doubt. It's a negative thought. It's going to affect the way you wrestle. When our self-doubt is greater than our belief, our confidence, that's when we lose, right? But we don't know, without mental training in that piece, we don't know how to control that. And that's where we get to do that. A couple of examples that I love is I've worked with quite a few state champions, and quite a few of them, believe it or not, one this year, one a couple years ago, one from Illinois, state champion. They were not slated to win. They weren't in the top. But because they came for the mental training and then they did the mental training, they won. They won state. And we all know that, winning state is all kinds of factors, right? There's uncontrollables, there's controllables, there's how hard did you work, and there's did you work harder than everyone else because now you believe in yourself that you deserve it more, right? That's a huge piece of the puzzle.
True.
And when we can help you get that piece of the puzzle with the mental training, you win state. And so I've had a lot of state champions that have come to me, and it's just that little piece of the puzzle that they have that everyone didn't have that got them a mental toughness to win. And one of my favorite examples is actually Jaden, I have to say. So he believed this year he was going to win state. He had all the pieces of the puzzle together. He had done the training. He had the mental training. We had worked. He had done it all, right? And he believed that he had everything he needed to be a state champion. So here's the great thing is I remember speaking to him Thursday morning before state. And this is an example of an uncontrollable and mental toughness. And I said to him, here's the deal. You have all the makings of a state champion. You have every piece of the puzzle. Do you believe you're going to win state? Yes, I believe I'm going to win state. But the conversation that we had, and I'm so glad, is, okay, but there are uncontrollables. You might twist your ankle. You might just get some weird move and get pinned. Something may happen in one of your matches that is uncontrollable. You know what the making of a champion is mental toughness. How do you come back? How do you come back if an uncontrollable happens? And so we got to talk about that. We got to talk about turning off the negative. We got to talk about switching from self-doubt to getting back to this place you are right here and right now. And you get to come back as a champion, whether an uncontrollable happened or not. That's mental toughness. And lo and behold, first match, uncontrollable. And he walked off that match, and I thought to myself, he looked like he had a concussion. He was so stunned. And it was because his belief didn't match with the results, right? But then that's where the mental toughness came in. You can be done, or you can figure out how to come back. And it's about figuring out how to come back. And that's why the mental training is so important, because 9 times out of 10, when something like that happens, they're done. So,
it's true. Yeah, and they're done. Next match, they're going to be flat because their goal was to win it. And now you can't get there. And they just cash it in.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Kids losing in semis, it's a heartbreaker, because they probably all thought they were going to be in the finals, but the other kid may have seen you for training too. Mm-hmm. So one of them is going to have to win. And,
right.
and you don't want to be the guy that falls back to 6th place.
Right. So
I should rephrase that to you need to be the guy that comes back for 3rd place.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in the
Yeah.
positive. Okay, so I love having these talks with you because it kind of reframes my brain. I always gain a lot of insight into what makes my wrestlers tick. What advice would you give to coaches to help them better work with the kids that have, you know, kids reach their potential no matter what their ability? Not the kids are all the kids. Not everybody's making semis at state. Some kids are
Right.
working for different things.
Yep, exactly. You know what? It is parents and coaches. We grow up to be the words that we have heard as a child. We grow up to be the wrestler that we heard our parents and our coaches saying. We act and behave the way that someone else said that we should. Kids don't have a developed critical mind. So everything we say to a child is 100% truth in their mind. If we tell them they suck, if we tell them they have a bad attitude, if we tell them you never do this, you never get the first takedown, you can't seem to get a pin, you need to be more aggressive, or you're weak, anything like that, whether it's a parent or a coach, and I see a lot of coaches with the negative, the child believes that. That becomes their truth, and that's what they react on. That's how they behave. So the best coaches, the best parents that become the best parents of athletes are always positive, always positive. And if there's something that you want to talk to your child about, it's always positive before the negative. Hey, you did this really well. Let's work on doing this. And it's work on doing this, not you did this really well, don't do this, because they're hearing that, right? We talked about not hearing don't, wouldn't, couldn't. So you did this really well. Let's work on being more aggressive. You did this really well. Let's make it a goal to get the first takedown. That's going to become what's going on in here, the picture in here, make all the difference in the world. And it's coaches and parents that the kids are going to react and behave and perform exactly what you just put in their mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think we have a lot for people to work on with, and this is going to help them develop their mindset for wrestling. I definitely want more people to work with you one-on-one, so they can do it. I know you work down in Burlington. We'll put the info below here so people can get in contact with you or visit your website, because you just do outstanding work. And it's important that kids train their mind. It's great for them to do it outside of us coaches, as we're best suited for the hard skills, the conditioning, the technique, keep working at it. But as you push that way physically, you also have to be able to relax your mind and let this positive self-talk carry you through as well. And you don't have, I know it's crazy, but you don't need to talk about wrestling 24 hours a day. You need to have a shut off so your mind can relax from it.
Yeah, exactly. And, I find with the mental training also is it helps with the confidence and what we wouldn't give to help our children be more confident, right? And what we wouldn't give to be more confident. I tell everyone that comes in my office, we all could use a bit more confidence in different situations, but the mental training helps with the confidence. It's the self-belief, and it is priceless.
Well, Karen Bird, thank you so much. We can wrap this up so we can send this out to people, but I really appreciate you taking some time with us. And I'm looking forward to you keeping my wrestlers on their winning ways.
Yeah, right. Thanks for having me. And my website, I just got redone. It's winwithhypnosis.com, and we could put it in there. But yeah, check it out. Oh, you know what else is on my website? My new one is a free audio for athletes, and it goes through different positive statements and visualizations of, like the perfect match or the perfect game. So check it out and get the audio.
Fantastic. Yeah. And what about this sleep technique that you have? I heard from people that came to one of your meetings that you did at the end something to help with sleep at nights, and people were just raving about what it did for them. So is that on the website, or do they just have to contact you to get that?
No, I think that's on the website too. I have 2 audios on there. One is for athletes and one is for a relaxation sleep. And sleep is easy. People take sleep medications all the time. It's really just relaxing the conscious mind, and you drift off into sleep. It's a brainwave state. So yeah, absolutely. Go to my website and get it.
important. I guess this year, Cale Sanderson at Penn State was telling all his wrestlers it was part of their training to get 9 hours of sleep a night. 9 hours. They have to really have a strict schedule to get that in, I'm sure. But yes, that's another thing that people can go to your website to see. Go for the sleep training. That's sleep, if nothing else.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's wrap it up and let's keep everybody moving forward.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Thank you so
Jim.
much.
Great chatting. All right. Bye.